I never thought I'd be the kind of person to snoop around behind my husband's back. But desperation makes you do things you never imagined. For months, Jake had been acting strange. Not cheating strange, but secretive in a way that gnawed at my insides. He'd disappear every Saturday afternoon, claiming he was helping his mother with yard work or fixing things around her house. But he'd come home without a speck of dirt on him, without the usual exhaustion that comes from manual labor, and with an expression I couldn't quite read. The worst part was that he'd started being vague about money. We'd always been transparent about our finances, but suddenly there were withdrawals I couldn't account for. And when I asked about them, he'd change the subject or say it was for his mom. When I suggested we visit her together, he'd make excuses. She's tired, she's not feeling well, she needs her space. It went on like this for 3 months, and with each passing week, my imagination conjured darker scenarios. Was he gambling? Did his mother have some terrible illness they were hiding from me? Was there another woman, and his mother was covering for him? Last Tuesday, I couldn't take it anymore. Jake left for work early, and I knew his mother, Patricia, would be at her weekly book club until at least 2 in the afternoon. She'd mentioned it at our last family dinner, back when things still felt normal. I had the spare key to her house. She'd given it to both of us years. Ego for emergencies. My hands were shaking as I drove across town, and I must have rehearsed a dozen excuses in case I got caught. I felt sick with guilt and anxiety, but I kept driving. Patricia lived in a modest ranch-style home in a quiet neighborhood, where everyone knew everyone else's business. I parked a block away, not wanting any nosy neighbors to recognize my car and mention it later. The walk to her front door felt like a mile, my heart hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. I kept telling myself I'd just take a quick look around, see if there was any evidence of medical bills or financial trouble, anything to explain Jake's behavior. Then I'd leave, and no one would ever know. The key turned smoothly in the lock, and I stepped inside, immediately hit by the familiar scent of Patricia's lavender potpourri. The living room looked exactly as it always did. Her floral couch, the wall of family photos, her collection of ceramic birds on the mantel. Everything was neat and in its place. I felt like an intruder in this space, where I'd spent countless Sunday dinners, where Patricia had taught me her famous pot roast recipe, where we'd celebrated birthdays and holidays. I moved through the house slowly, checking the kitchen counters for prescription, bottles, or medical paperwork. Nothing. The small office she kept was tidy, with bills neatly organized in a desktop file holder. I felt increasingly foolish, like I was violating her privacy for no reason. Maybe Jake really was just helping her with ordinary things, and I was losing my mind over nothing. Then I noticed the basement door was slightly ajar, and I could see a light on downstairs. Patricia never used her basement much. It was mostly storage, boxes of old belongings and holiday decorations, but the light was on, which was unusual. My stomach knotted as I approached the door and pulled it open wider. The wooden steps creaked under my feet as I descended, and with each step, I became more aware of how wrong this felt, how much I was betraying everyone's trust. When I reached the bottom and turned the corner, I was left in shock. I literally stopped breathing for a moment, unable to process what I was seeing. The dingy, cluttered basement, I remembered, had been completely transformed into a beautiful, fully equipped art studio. The concrete floor had been covered with protective tarps and carpet remnants. Professional lighting hung from the ceiling. There were easels, canvases of all sizes, shelving units filled with paint supplies, brushes, and materials I couldn't even name. And covering nearly every available surface, the walls, the easels, leaning against furniture, were paintings, dozens and dozens of paintings. But here's what made my knees weak and brought tears instantly to my eyes. They were all painted by Patricia, and they were absolutely breathtaking. I moved closer, mesmerized, examining each piece. Vibrant landscapes that seemed to glow with light, abstract pieces that swirled with emotion and color, delicate still lifes that captured ordinary objects with such care they became extraordinary. There were portraits, too. I recognized Jake's face in several. Younger versions of him at different ages, painted from old photographs with such love and detail it made my chest ache. There was one of me, too, from our wedding day. That was so beautiful I had to cover my mouth to keep from sobbing. In all the years I'd known Patricia, nearly 8 years since Jake and I started dating. 6 years of marriage. I had never known she painted. She'd never mentioned it, never shown the slightest indication that she had this incredible talent hidden away. She was just Mom, the sweet woman who baked too, many cookies, and worried too, much about whether we were eating enough vegetables. I heard footsteps above me and panic seized me. I'd been so absorbed in the paintings that I'd lost track of time. The basement door creaked, and I froze, caught red-handed in a place I absolutely should not be. But instead of Patricia's voice, I heard Jake's. "Mom, I brought more canvases like you." He stopped mid-sentence as he reached the bottom of the stairs and saw me. His face went through about 5 different emotions in as many seconds. Shock, confusion, guilt, and then something like resignation. "Emma, what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here?" "Jake, what is all this? Why didn't you tell me your mother paints? Why has this been such a secret?" My voice came out higher than normal, shaky with emotion. He set down the package he'd been carrying and rubbed his face with both hands. "It's not my secret to tell. God, Mom is going to kill me." "And how did you break in?" "I have a key." "And you've been acting so weird for months, disappearing every weekend, being secretive about money. I don't even know what I thought, that you were in trouble, or she was sick, or something awful." I was crying now, overwhelmed by relief and confusion, and the strange beauty of this secret. Basement studio. Jake sat down on an old stool, looking defeated. "She made me promise not to tell anyone. Not you, not Dad, no one. 3 years ago, she took a community center art class on a whim, just to fill time after Dad retired and was driving her crazy being home all day. She discovered she loved it, that she was good at it. But she was terrified people would laugh at her, think she was being silly, a woman her age suddenly deciding she's an artist. But these are incredible, Jake. She's really talented." "I know. I've been telling her that for months. She finally let me help her set up a proper studio down here. The money you noticed? I've been buying her supplies. Good quality stuff. The Saturday visits? I've been helping her stretch canvases, install the lighting, just spending time with her while she works. She's been taking online classes, practicing constantly. It's made her so happy. Emma, I haven't seen her this alive since before Dad passed. I'd forgotten that Patricia's husband had died 4 years ago. She'd seemed to handle it well, staying busy with her book club and volunteer work. But maybe she'd been more lost than any of us realized. Why couldn't she tell me? I thought we were close. She wanted to. But she kept saying she'd wait until she was good enough, until she had something worth showing. I think she was scared that if she told people and then gave up or failed, she'd be embarrassed. This way, it was just hers, safe. I walked around the studio again, seeing it differently now. This wasn't just a collection of paintings. It was evidence of someone reclaiming themselves, finding a new identity after loss. In each brushstroke, I could see Patricia's courage, her willingness to be a beginner at something, to risk looking foolish in pursuit of joy. She's good enough, Jake. She's more than good enough. These could be in galleries. I've told her that. Actually, that's another reason I've been helping her. There's a show at the Community Arts Center next month, open to local artists. I finally convinced her to submit a few pieces. She's terrified, but she agreed. I heard the basement door open again, and this time it was definitely Patricia. "Jake, honey, I forgot my book club was canceled today, and oh my God." She stood at the bottom of the stairs in her cardigan and sensible shoes, looking at me standing in the middle of her secret sanctuary, and I watched her face crumble. She looked utterly mortified, caught in the most vulnerable position possible. "Patricia, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have come here without asking. I was worried about Jake, and I let my anxiety get the better of me, and I violated your privacy. I'm so sorry." I was crying again, this apology feeling more important than any I'd ever given. She stood there silently for a long moment, then surprised me by starting to laugh. It was a slightly hysterical laugh, but genuine. "Well, I suppose the cat's out of the bag now, isn't it? God, I must look like such a fool. A 63-year-old woman playing around with paints like a child." No, I said firmly, walking over to her. You look like an artist. These are beautiful, Patricia. I had no idea you could do this. Why didn't you tell me? Her eyes filled with tears. Because I was scared, sweetheart. At my age, you're supposed to have everything figured out. You're supposed to already know who you are. Starting something new, being terrible at it at first, having dreams that might not work out. It felt foolish. What if I failed? What if people laughed? What if I wasn't any good? But you are good. You're really, really good. She shook her head, but I could see she wanted to believe me. I've been taking it seriously, working hard. It's given me something to wake up for. Something that's mine. After your father-in-law died, I felt like I'd lost myself along with him. We'd been married 40 years. I didn't know who Patricia was without him. This has helped me figure that out. Jake put his arm around his mother's shoulders. I've been trying to tell her she should have told everyone months ago. But she's stubborn. I wanted to wait until I had something to show at the Art Center exhibit. I thought I'd surprise everyone then if I didn't chicken out. Patricia looked around at her paintings, her expression a mixture of pride and vulnerability. Do you really think they're good, Emma? You're not just being kind? I grabbed her hand. Patricia, I'm not just being kind. This one of Jake? It captures something essential about him that I couldn't even put into words. But I recognize it immediately. And this landscape, I can almost feel the temperature of the air, the time of day. You have a gift. She squeezed my hand, tears running down her cheeks now. Thank you. That means more than you know. I'm sorry we kept this from you. I asked Jake to keep my secret, and he's been such a good son, helping me, encouraging me. I know it put him in an awkward position. I'm sorry I snooped, I said. I should have just talked to Jake, trusted him. Instead, I let my imagination run wild. What did you think was happening? Patricia asked, suddenly curious. I honestly didn't know. My mind went to some dark places. I thought maybe someone was sick, or there were financial problems, or... I trailed off, embarrassed. Jake laughed. She thought I might be having an affair, and you were covering for me. Jake, Patricia swatted his arm. Emma, I hope you know my son better than that. And I hope you know I'd never cover for such a thing. I do know that. I just got scared and stupid. I'm sorry to both of you. Patricia looked around her studio, then back at us. Well, since you're both here and the secret's out, want to see what I'm planning to submit to the show? We spent the next 2 hours in that basement, looking at paintings, hearing stories about what inspired each one, listening to Patricia talk about color theory and technique. With an enthusiasm I'd never heard from her before, she was transformed, animated in a way that made her seem younger. This was who she was becoming. Not just Jake's mom or someone's widow, but an artist with her own vision and voice. As we were leaving, Patricia hugged me tight. I'm glad you found out, even if it wasn't the way I planned. And Emma? Don't wait until you're my age to discover what makes you come alive. Do it now while you have time. Driving home with Jake, I felt lighter than I had in months. The secret was out, but it wasn't the dark secret I'd feared. It was a beautiful one. A story about courage and reinvention, and finding yourself when you thought it was too late. I really am sorry I didn't trust you, I said to Jake. I get it. I should have found a way to tell you something without betraying Mom's confidence. We'll figure out better communication. He reached over and squeezed my hand. But you have to come to her show next month. She's going to need all the support she can get. I wouldn't miss it for anything. And I didn't. When Patricia's paintings were displayed at the Community Art Center, surrounded by other local artists, I watched her stand nervously beside her work, accepting compliments from strangers who genuinely admired her talent. She sold 3 paintings that night, and someone from a small gallery asked if she'd be interested in a solo show. I learned something important that day in Patricia's basement. We're never too old to surprise ourselves, never too settled to discover new parts of who we are. And sometimes the secrets people keep aren't dangerous. They're just dreams. They're not quite ready to share with the world yet. Tender hopes they're protecting until they're strong enough to survive scrutiny. Patricia is painting still, more boldly now, unafraid. And I try to remember her courage whenever I'm scared to try something new, whenever I worry about looking foolish or failing. Because if she could start over at 63, transforming a dusty basement into a studio and herself into an artist, then surely the rest of us can be brave too.